Radio Row Super Bowl 50 between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. WHIP is live in San Francisco, and we talked to Philadelphia's very own, the King from Fox 29 and Sports Radio 94 WIP, and that is Howard Eskin, who will probably call me a nitwit and a moron a few times in this interview. Howard, how are you?
I am great, you nitwit and moron. Let's get it out of the way.
Well, if you remember, I actually debated you on Fox 29 in that segment.
Oh, yeah, you were a nitwit and a moron.
They asked me to come on and defend Tom Brady because I'm a Patriot fan, and
yeah, but how can
we
you
went at
defend
it.
a cheater?
Well, here's the thing, though. With Roger Goodell is a nitwit and a moron, and if people believe 100% about everything with Deflategate, I think they're stupid, because there is so much stuff that Roger Goodell is lying to the public about, and they have Mike Kensel leaking stories about the footballs to Chris Mortensen, and it's a joke.
The reality is the footballs were deflated. I'll give you a story when the Eagles were playing the Patriots this year.
Okay.
There was an interception for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown. Malcolm Jenkins and Sproles. And normally when the players do that, they keep the football. Well, it's the Patriots football because the Patriots are kicking it off and Tom Brady's throwing it. The Patriots asked for the balls back and said, we'll give them back to you at the end of the game. Now, why would you do that?
I don't know.
Yes, you do know, but you don't want to admit that they've been caught cheating a few times.
Spygate, I'll give you.
Hey, listen, the footballs were deflated. They had to change the rules for that. Hey, why did the Patriots suspended the equipment guys?
You know they had to. They had to suspend them.
Well, wait, not if they're not guilty. But obviously they were guilty. And Tom Brady knew the footballs were deflated, and the other team felt it, and it wasn't because of the cold weather. Stop it.
Do you think Tom will ever admit it? Maybe after he retires or something?
No, because he's big. He thinks he's bigger than everything else. So does Mr. Perfect, Bob Kraft, think he's bigger than everything else.
You hate Bob Kraft. There's nothing you like about Boston sports, right?
No, I don't hate anything. I mean, there's a lot of years I like the Red Sox. I just like the class of their organization. But the Patriots aren't class. Bill Belichick's a jerk. He's a good coach, but without Tom Brady, he's not a Hall of Fame coach. And let's be honest about that. He's not a Hall of Fame coach. And they cheat. If they're that good, you shouldn't have to cheat. They try to find every little edge. They were the fewest fumbles in the NFL the year that they caught them. There's a reason for that. If the balls are deflated, they're easier to hold.
Well, they didn't fumble the ball that much this year, so.
Okay.
I'll squash that theory right there as we're talking to Howard Eskin, who joins us live on Radio Row right now. Let's get to the Eagles. Do you like the Doug Peterson hire?
I was hoping it would be Pat Shurmur because I think he's a good coach. He did a really nice job the last game. I watched him call the plays. He did it a little differently than Chip. He looked at the defense, then called a play because they had plenty of times with the up-tempo game that they played. He gave Sam Bradford more freedom to change the play at the line of scrimmage. But I think the Eagles just wanted to clean out anybody that had a Chip Kelly part of him. And that's why, and I'm glad to see Pat got a job. But I like Doug. I knew him before when he was a quarterback, when he was a coach. He's a good guy and a smart guy. They need players. But, yeah, I'm fine with the hire, yeah.
Conklin poked a little fun at you on the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association, made a joke about how tight you are with Andy Reid.
Yeah, what he said. Did I have my head up his rear end?
He said you still like you're tasting Andy Reid or something in your mouth or when you breathe or something like that. It was something along those lines.
There's kids in the audience there. People use me as their foil. Can he get laughs without using my name?
Well, he did get a few more laughs. He uses Charles Barkley, who you also like. But since you know Andy Reid so well, what does Andy Reid say about Doug Peterson?
Well, he obviously likes him because not only did he hire him as a coach in Philadelphia after he was a quarterback, he hired him as a coach in Kansas City. So he likes him. I mean, he let him, as they went through the year, let him call plays in parts of the game, in a lot of parts of the game. But he likes him. I mean, he likes him. He likes his. He's good. Those kind of coaches are always good with the quarterback. Look what he did with Alex Smith. Now, I know he wasn't a quarterback coach, but he had to manipulate. Alex Smith is really just an average quarterback, but he made him look like he was an above-average quarterback. And they got to the second game of the playoffs, and they had a chance to win that game. But and they lost with all that. They lost 2 running backs. They lost a lot of players. So I think Doug Peterson obviously has shown he's done a good job.
Would you bring back Sam Bradford?
I would. There's no other quarterbacks. Now, what's the money? I wouldn't bring him back for $22 million. I would franchise him. Somehow I don't think they're going to do that now. And they're going to have to work something out. And they're going to have to hope that somebody else out in the open market doesn't give him $20 million. But there's always one stupid team to give him that kind of money. He's the best quarterback that will be available. He did a nice job when he came back from injury. He's the best quarterback available. You can't win without a quarterback. Now, will they get to a Super Bowl with Sam Bradford? I don't know. I don't know that they couldn't. However, they need other things to help, like the offensive line and other receivers, so they do need to improve some other areas. But I would bring him back, but again, it comes down to what they have to pay him.
It's fitting that we're here in San Francisco, and now Chip Kelly is the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. Just getting the feel of this city, I don't know if he did that or not. How are people perceiving Chip here?
I talked to a few writers today, and they're not quite sure yet. His first news conference, his only one so far, was friendly, didn't really step out and answer a lot of questions with real answers. It was kind of like halfway answers. So it's a wait and see for them. The people obviously love it because they didn't like the last coach, who was terrible. And the coach before that, Jim Harbaugh, was really just brutal on players at the end of his tenure here. So it's got to be better than it was last year for the 49ers. But I don't think Kaepernick is his guy, even though people think, oh, they need Kaepernick. He wants Kaepernick because he can run. Kaepernick's an idiot. He's a dope, and he's a bad person to have in a locker room as a quarterback because he's not a team leader and he's alienated all his teammates.
Were you at all surprised when they fired Chip Kelly? Did you expect this to happen?
I expected it before, at the end of the season. Near the end of the season, there was a comment made to me, and with that comment that was told me by somebody from the organization, I said, whoops, Chip's gone. But I thought it would have been at the end of the season. But it was okay to fire him before the last game. It would have been a circus in New York. If you were at home, it would have been a little bit easier. But they didn't want that circus up in New York, so you get it out of the way, and it didn't really make any difference.
My main problem with the way they hired Doug Peterson, and we'll see if Doug Peterson can win games. I don't know if he could be a good coach in this league. Time will tell. But the way they went about it, I don't get the rationale behind bringing back Howie Roseman, and I don't get why Jeffrey Lurie has this blind loyalty to Howie Roseman, because it's so bizarre, the whole thing. Chip wins the power play, then Chip gets out, and then Howie's back in that whole power, and they didn't interview Sean McDermott. They called Hugh Jackson when he basically already had the job with the Browns. Wasn't the whole process and the way that they got to Doug Peterson off, in your opinion?
Well, let me tell you why they didn't interview Sean McDermott.
They don't get along.
No, they wanted an offensive guy.
Okay.
Look at all the coaches that were hired.
Yeah.
They were all on the offensive side of the ball. All of them. That's the trend now in the NFL. They're all offensive coaches. So that's why, really, I mean, Sean, whether they liked him, they disliked him, it didn't matter, because even though Jeffrey Lurie said, I'm going to look at both sides of the football, but they were looking at offense. That's exactly what they wanted as a coach on the offensive side of the ball. So that's why no Sean McDermott. The other guys, Adam Gase was the hot name. I don't know how good he is.
I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, but I don't even know him. I mean, he's an assistant coach. I mean, how do we know how a guy translates into it? How do we know how McAdoo's going to do as a head coach? It's different when you're assistant as a head coach. So the reality is, it doesn't matter. It's all basically the same.
Where did you stand on Tom Coughlin? Would you want him as the Eagles coach?
I would have taken him as an Eagles coach 100%. 100% because he can coach. But there obviously would have been some conflicts with Howie Roseman. And when Chip had the power play, he only did that. He brought in Tom Gamble. And when they fired Tom Gamble, he said, whoa, wait a minute.
That's when he freaked.
Not here. Yeah, that's when he said, hey, listen, I've got to take care of personnel. And Jeffrey, I don't think it was a yelling, knockdown. It wasn't a knockout type of thing. Listen, this is what I got to do. And Jeffrey said yes.
How much would you play Fletcher Cox if you were the Eagles? How much money would you give him?
Well, he's no worse than the third best player at his position. So you've got Adama Kasu, you've got J.J. Watt, and he's right behind those two guys. So he'll get a contract that's about $100 million with about 60 to 70 million guaranteed. They just got to figure out how to do it.
We're here at Radio Row with Howard Eskin, who joins us right now. And actually, one of the first few times I went to Radio Row, I was broadcasting right next to you. I think it was in Dallas. You actually, I believe you were interviewing Adam Sandler, and then I was able to pick off Adam Sandler for you.
Yeah, I did interview Adam Sandler. His assistant grew up in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. So, I didn't know that.
So it helped me. Yeah, it had an in. So, and he used to watch and listen to me. So it was good.
How many years have you been coming to the Super Bowl? I know it's been a lot.
This is the 36th Super Bowl.
So in your 36 Super Bowls, who was the best guest that you've ever interviewed?
Wow. I mean, I've had Joe Montana. I've had Jerry Rice, Walter Payton. Back in the early years when it wasn't a circus and you didn't have to fight for guests, it was 10 of us. Walter Payton was walking by. Hey, Walter, can you sit down? Nah, no problem. So it was like 10. There was 10 people there. That was it. 10 radio stations. So those are the top names that I have to say. But then you have, from the Hollywood side, you had Hugh Jackman. Sugar Ray Leonard did the movie with Hugh Jackman.
That's right. I got a picture with Sugar Ray. I remember that.
So they did it together. Adam Sandler was funny, but you can't just pick out one guy. From a football side, I think Joe Montana's the best quarterback that ever played the game in my lifetime. So it was really cool for me to have him. Same thing with Jerry Rice. That was nice. But there's been so many that it's been so much fun. But Walter Payton, I have a picture somewhere. I can't find it, but which was kind of cool. So I've interviewed quite a few.
We'll tell Spike to start researching and getting that picture somewhere. Spike's the new PD of Sports Radio 94 WIP, and he's big time there now.
Well, he's the boss.
Yeah, he runs the show.
Yeah. I don't know if that's big time, but he's the boss, which is good.
Does he ever call you up and go, Howard, and critique any of your shows now since he's the boss running at WIP?
I see him every day, or I see him most days during the week because Fox is right across the street. So I'll stop in there, and if he wants to say something to me, he can. I have no problem with that.
So real quickly, before we let you run, we need to get your prediction and your expert analysis on the game coming up on Sunday. Who do you like between Carolina and Denver, and why?
Well, I actually, at one time, up until today, liked Carolina. And the reason I liked them is because I couldn't figure out how Denver was going to score. And unless Cam Newton completely went off fell off the wagon and started turning the ball over, I didn't see how Denver was going to score. And then, I like trends. Sometimes they tell you something. Cam Newton will win the MVP award on Saturday night. The MVP, when a quarterback is 0-5 in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Now, that is, and it's like 5 and I got some numbers here, but when you look at all those things, and that's reality. The other team plays harder. That's one of the things. The other team plays harder, and let me see. Teams who score 40 or more points in a playoff game are 3-11 straight up in the Super Bowl. That was Carolina. 0-14 against the spread. And the next playoff, 0-14 against the spread, the next playoff game since '96. And the MVP as a quarterback is 0-5.
You know what would be interesting if it goes against those statistics? If Cam does win this game, he would have won a national championship, a Heisman Trophy. He would have won an MVP, assuming he wins it Saturday night, which he will, and then a Super Bowl and possibly a Super Bowl MVP. That's quite an impressive resume for his age.
Yeah, I know Peyton Manning didn't win a national championship. It's amazing. They won the next year after he left with the same players. What does that tell you?
Hey, well, Tim Tebow won 2 national championships. And
yeah, but he'll never win an NFL.
No.
He'll never win. Tim Tebow stinks.
By the way, you want to talk about the joke this is as an event, and I guess I'm being a hypocrite here because I ran over to get a picture with Tim Tebow yesterday, but I've never seen a career backup in the NFL and a guy that's not even in the league anymore draw that much attention than what Tim Tebow drew yesterday on Radio Row.
I know, it's sick. First of all, he's not even a career backup because he hasn't been with that many teams and stayed that long. So he's not even a career backup.
Yeah, but
when he was in the league,
he bounced from the Eagles, the Jets, the Patriots, and all that nonsense.
Well, yeah, the Eagles. I mean, it was a joke that Chip Kelly brought him in.
Why did they bring him in?
I think he was trying to do it. He needed another quarterback, and I think he was because he was a good guy. He's friends with his coach in college, Urban Meyer. I think he wanted to throw him a bone.
Okay, fair enough. Howard, great to see you as always. Hopefully I wasn't too much of a moron in this interview, but thanks so much.
No, but if you were, I would have straightened you out anyway.
I know you would. Howard Eskin right there on Radio Row. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after these short messages. We're brought to you by Peerless Boilers. It's Peerless who builds America's best boilers.